You've been studying English for years, maybe many years. You watch shows. You read things online. You follow conversations when other people are talking. You actually understand it.
But the second someone asks you a question directly, something happens. Your chest tightens. A voice in your head says, "Wait, how do I say this?" And suddenly, you can't produce a single sentence.
And that's the moment most people silently give up.
That moment is one of the most frustrating things a language learner ever goes through. And most people quietly decide it means something is wrong with them, like maybe they just aren't built for this.
But here's what nobody tells you. It's not your vocabulary. It's not your grammar. You already know enough to have that conversation.
You're missing one specific thing. Almost nobody trains it. And this is the real reason nothing has worked. The moment you understand what it is, the way you see your own English will never be the same.
What we're about to share isn't another study tip. It's the reason everything you've tried so far hasn't moved the needle the way you hoped. Stay with us.
Welcome to Easy English with PJ. I'm PJ.
And I'm Logan. If you've ever had that experience of knowing the answer and still not being able to get it out, you're in exactly the right place.
Because what we're about to walk through is the piece most people spend years trying to figure out on their own. Let's get into it.
So let's start with the real question. You study. You put in the time. You're not being lazy. So why is speaking still so hard?
Think about how most people approach English learning. They watch videos, they read articles, they study grammar rules, they write vocabulary lists. All of that is input. Information is going in. And here's where the problem begins. Most learners don't actually have a vocabulary problem. They have a speaking habit problem.
And those are completely different things.
They really are. You can study for 2 hours every single day, and your speaking won't improve the way you need it to. Not because you're doing something wrong, because you're training the wrong thing. You're collecting knowledge about speaking instead of practicing the act of speaking itself.
It's like reading every book ever written about swimming and then jumping into the deep end.
Right. Reading about swimming doesn't teach your body how to float. Watching someone ride a bike doesn't teach you balance. You have to do it. You have to wobble. You have to fall a few times. And you keep going until your body figures it out on its own.
So the problem isn't that people are lazy. It's that they're working hard, but in the wrong direction.
That's it. And this is why so many learners feel stuck even after years of trying. They keep thinking more studying equals more fluency.
But here's what really changes things. English isn't a subject. It's a skill, like playing an instrument, like learning to drive. You don't learn it by reading about it.
You learn it by doing it, over and over, until your brain and your body stop fighting each other and just start working together.
Now this next part matters, because most people miss it. It explains something that happens inside your brain the moment you try to speak, and once you see it, you can't unsee it.
You know that moment in a room when it goes quiet and everyone looks at you and you open your mouth and nothing comes out? Here's what's actually going on inside your head when that happens.
When you speak, your brain is trying to do two things at the same time. First, it's searching for the right words. Second, it's watching you, judging every word, asking if you sound correct, wondering what the other person is thinking, checking if you made a mistake.
And your brain struggles to do both at the same time.
So the harder you try to get it right, the worse it actually gets.
Right. The moment you start thinking, is this correct? Do I sound strange? Your fluency doesn't slow down. It stops. And here's the part most people never catch. The natural response to that experience is to try even harder next time. Watch yourself more carefully. Add more pressure. Be more prepared. And that makes everything worse. This is the cycle that keeps people stuck for years. This is why you feel stuck.
So the harder you try to sound perfect, the worse you actually sound. That's a little unfair.
It is. But here's what really changes the game. The goal isn't to think better while you speak. The goal is to think less. It sounds strange, but that's the truth. The people who speak most naturally aren't running grammar checks in their head while they talk. They've practiced enough phrases that their brain has already handled the small stuff automatically. So all that mental space is free for the actual conversation.
And that thing you're missing? This is it. We're going to show you how to build it. Because the next tool is the one most people overlook, and it's the reason they stay stuck.
Before we go any further, I want you to stop for 1 second. Say this phrase out loud right now. Not in your head. Actually say it in your real voice. That's a good point. Let me think about that.
Seriously, pause this if you need to. Say those words out loud. And if you didn't say it out loud, you missed the point.
Here's why that matters. The first time you say a phrase out loud, it's always the hardest. Your mouth isn't used to the shape of it. Your voice sounds a little strange to you. You feel slightly awkward.
But you just made it easier. You said it once. The next time you need it, your brain has something to pull from instead of starting from zero. That's the beginning of automation. And it starts right there with one phrase.
So what's the actual solution? If the problem is that your brain is overloaded, what removes the overload?
Automatic phrases. Think about your first language. When someone says, "How are you?" Do you stop and think about the grammar before you answer?
No, it just comes out.
That's automatic. Your brain stores it as one chunk, not as a collection of separate words that need to be assembled. You need that same thing in English too. Pick 10 phrases you need in real conversations. Say them out loud every single day until they come out without any effort at all.
Phrases like what?
Things like, "Let me think about that for a second," or "That's actually a good point," or "How can I put this?" These are bridges. Nobody notices you needed a moment. The conversation keeps moving. Your brain catches up, and the panic that used to take over simply doesn't show up.
So instead of going silent mid-sentence, you say, "Let me think about that," and you've just bought yourself 3 seconds. That's enough time for everything to come back.
That's the shift. You're replacing panic with control and silence with flow. Every single time it works, your confidence grows a little more. That's what fluency starts to feel like. And the next part is a real story that shows how powerful this is. You'll probably recognize yourself in it.
I want to tell you about one of my students. Her name is Lisa. She's from Brazil and works in marketing. Her reading and writing were strong. She could follow any conversation easily. She understood everything. But the moment she had to speak in a work meeting, something would happen.
What would happen exactly?
She'd start a sentence, stop herself, apologize, and then finish with something much simpler than what she actually wanted to say. Over time, she started avoiding situations where she had to speak English. She'd stay quiet in meetings. She'd let other people take over. And the more she avoided it, the worse the fear got.
That's not a language problem. That's what happens when you spend too much time watching yourself instead of just talking.
Right. So I gave her one thing to work on, 20 phrases she needed specifically for her work environment. Things like, "Can I add something to that?" And "Let me finish this thought," and "I'd like to say something here." Every day for 3 weeks, she said them out loud. That was it. No new grammar, no new vocabulary, just those phrases made automatic.
And what happened?
The pauses started disappearing. Her brain finally had space for her actual ideas. She called me after a meeting and said she'd spoken for 5 straight minutes without panicking once. Not perfect, not every time, but enough to change everything. 5 months later, she was leading presentations in English in front of her entire team.
From apologizing mid-sentence to leading presentations in 5 months. That's not luck. That's what happens when you train the right skill.
This is the piece nobody teaches. She didn't become fluent by studying more. She became fluent by having less to think about in the moment. You make the small things automatic, so your brain has room for the real conversation. If this is already changing how you think about learning, you'll want to stick around for what comes next, because the next tool builds directly on this, and most people never even hear about it.
Give me one more tool. Something someone can actually start using today.
Sentence frames. Think of them as templates for your ideas. The structure is already built. All you do is add your thought.
Like what?
Frames like, in my opinion, or one thing I've noticed is, or what I mean is, or the reason I think that is. You're never starting from zero. You always have a launching pad, and the moment you launch, the rest of the sentence starts to build itself.
So you're removing the pressure of building an entire sentence from scratch while also trying to think about what you actually want to say.
That's it. And the more frames you have ready, the faster you speak, the smoother you sound, and the more confident you feel. Every conversation goes a little better than the one before. Every time you speak, you believe a little more that you can do this. You can start that cycle today. Now, once you have the phrases and the frames, most people think they're done. But there's still one thing missing. And it's the reason someone can say all the right words and still not quite sound fluent.
Here's something I want to be honest about, because this is where most people still struggle even after they have the phrases and the frames. You can have the right words. You can know the grammar. You can have everything memorized and still not sound fluent. And you still don't quite sound fluent. Most people assume they just need more vocabulary. But that's not it.
It's rhythm.
Rhythm? Like music?
Like music. Most language classes never teach this. No textbook mentions it. But listen to the difference. I went to the store yesterday. Said flat, every word carrying the same weight. Now say it again, but let the important words land a little harder. I went to the store yesterday. You hear it? That second version sounds like a real person. The first version sounds like someone reading out loud.
And flat delivery, where every word carries the same weight and every sentence sounds the same, feels unnatural to native speakers.
Natural rhythm, where some words are stronger and the voice rises and falls, makes you sound fluent even when you make small grammar mistakes. Someone with imperfect grammar but natural rhythm will sound more fluent than someone with perfect grammar and flat delivery. Every time.
So fluency feels natural before it looks perfect.
That's it. Here's how you train it. Find one sentence from a speaker you like, a podcast, a short video, anything. Listen to it. Pause it. Repeat it with the same rhythm, the same stress, the same movement in the voice, not just the words, the music underneath the words.
Does that actually work?
It feels a little strange for about 2 days. Then your mouth starts to remember the patterns of how natural English actually moves. You stop thinking about it, it starts coming out on its own. That's what muscle memory for language feels like. Now that we've covered the tools, there's something else most people never deal with. And for a lot of learners, it's the real reason they stay quiet even when they know what to say.
Here's something most people don't say out loud. Some people have the phrases. They know the frames. They understand rhythm. And they still can't get started. Not because of the English, because of the fear underneath it.
You know that feeling right before you speak where your heart beats a little faster and a small voice says, "What if I get this wrong? What if I sound bad?"
Everyone watching right now knows that feeling.
That's not a language problem. That's an exposure problem. You haven't had enough real conversations yet to feel safe in them. And that's not who you are. It's just unfamiliarity. And unfamiliarity goes away with one thing: repetition.
So how do you build that comfort without throwing yourself into a terrifying situation?
You remove the audience. Start somewhere with zero pressure. Talk to yourself out loud. Describe what you see outside the window. Tell yourself about your morning. Narrate what you're doing while you make coffee. You're training your mouth to move in English with no risk, no judgment, and no embarrassment. Just practice.
And then you gradually move toward real conversations. Start easy. Talk to people who make you feel safe. Build the habit of speaking first, then build the complexity later.
The goal isn't to speak perfectly. The goal is to be brave enough to start, imperfectly, and to get a little better from there.
The students who improve fastest aren't the ones who study the most. They're the ones who speak the most, even badly, even alone, even when it feels pointless.
They're building the habit while everyone else is still just collecting the knowledge. Two very different paths. And only one of them actually leads to fluency.
And if you're already seeing yourself in this, the next part gives you a real answer to the question everyone thinks but nobody asks.
I want to ask something that I know everyone watching is quietly thinking right now. How long does this actually take? Not in theory, realistically.
2 weeks of daily practice, and you'll feel small things shift. Your mouth moves a little faster. The pauses get shorter. Some phrases start coming out without any effort.
What about 2 months?
2 months in, the people around you will notice before you do. Your coworkers, your friends, people who talk to you regularly will say something has changed. 6 months in, you'll listen back to how you used to speak and not recognize yourself.
6 months doesn't sound that long when you say it like that.
It feels very long when you're standing at the beginning. It feels like nothing at all when you're on the other side of it. And the beautiful part is you don't have to wait 6 months to feel progress. You'll feel it in 2 weeks. That's what keeps you going.
Here's what I keep coming back to. Most people think fluency means knowing more. More words, more grammar, more everything. That's why they study more and still freeze. They keep waiting to feel ready, and that feeling never quite comes.
Fluency isn't knowing more English. It's needing less time to use it. If you're still translating in your head before every sentence, you're not there yet. The goal isn't to have every word memorized. The goal is to reach the point where the words stop feeling like work, where they just come, naturally, without effort.
And that doesn't come from studying more.
It comes from speaking more. Every single day, not for hours, not in a classroom, just a little, consistently, until it becomes part of who you are.
Not just in how you speak, but in how you feel when you speak. There's one more thing most people completely overlook. It's not grammar.
It's not vocabulary. And if you skip it, everything else feels harder than it needs to be.
Your body is part of your English. You can say the right words and still lose people before you finish the sentence if your body is telling a completely different story.
Sit up straight. Make eye contact. Let your hands move naturally. And here's one small thing that sounds too simple to matter. Smile when you speak.
Smiling actually changes how you sound?
Try it right now. Say any sentence with a flat, neutral face. Then say the same sentence while you're genuinely smiling. The second version sounds warmer, more confident, less stiff. Not because the words changed, Because your voice physically changes when you smile.
A tiny adjustment with a very big result.
Here's what most people miss entirely. You're not just training your language. You're training your presence. People feel you before they really listen to what you say. The next part pulls all of this together into a daily routine you can actually follow. Not a theory. A real plan that fits inside the life you already have.
Most people skip this part, and that's exactly why they don't improve. Because the routine isn't complicated, it's not time-consuming, it's just consistent. None of this takes more than 35 minutes spread across your whole day.
Walk us through it.
In the morning, while you're getting ready or making coffee, say your 10 automatic phrases out loud. 5 minutes, every day without exception. Mid-morning, listen to something in English for 10 minutes. A podcast, a short video, anything you like. Pick one sentence that sounds natural to you and repeat it with the same rhythm. At lunch, spend 5 minutes talking about your morning out loud, as if you're telling a friend what happened, even if no one is listening.
And in the afternoon and evening?
In the afternoon, read something short out loud with real expression. Not flat, as if you actually mean what you're saying. And in the evening, either have a real conversation with someone or record yourself speaking for 3 minutes and listen back.
35 minutes total. Spread across an entire day. That's less than one episode of almost anything.
And if you can't do all of it, do what you can. But do something every single day. A little every day is far more powerful than a lot once a week. Your brain needs repetition, not marathon sessions.
Here's the shift in thinking that actually makes this stick. The daily routine isn't just practice. It's proof to yourself that you're the kind of person who speaks English. You're not someone who is trying to learn English someday. You're someone who speaks English and is getting better every single day. That's a different identity, and it changes everything about how you show up.
Before we wrap up, I want to say something directly to anyone who's been feeling frustrated for a long time. Anyone who has quietly wondered if they're just not built for languages. Anyone who has thought maybe it's too late or maybe it's simply not for them.
Because that thought is more common than people ever admit out loud.
You're not bad at English. You just haven't trained speaking enough yet. Those two things sound similar, but they're completely different. One feels like a permanent limitation, like some people just have it and you don't. The other is simply a habit you haven't built yet. And habits can be built, starting today, not after you feel ready, not after one more lesson, today.
That version of you isn't far away. It's already there. It's just waiting for enough practice to come out. You're not starting from zero. You're starting from where you are right now. And that's enough. Most people will watch this and do nothing. Please don't be most people. Because the people who do something today are the ones leading meetings in English 6 months from now.
Here's your one thing, just one. Pick one tool from this video. Say your 10 phrases every morning while you make coffee. Copy one speaker for 10 minutes. Talk to yourself for 5 minutes tonight. One thing. Tomorrow, not someday. Tomorrow.
And when it works, come back and tell us. Leave a comment. Tell us what you tried and what shifted. Because we read every single one. Your story might be exactly the thing that pushes someone else to start. Someone is watching this right now, wondering if it will actually work for them. When they read your experience and see that it worked for you, they'll think, if that person can do it, so can I. That's how this community works.
And if you haven't subscribed yet, we do this every single week. Real English, real situations, nothing from a textbook. Hit subscribe. You won't regret it.
You've been studying English for years. You watch shows. You read articles. You actually understand it. But you go quiet when someone asks you a question directly. Remember that feeling from the beginning of this video?
That moment at the beginning when your mind goes blank? That doesn't have to happen anymore. That feeling isn't permanent. It isn't who you are. It's just a skill you haven't trained yet.
Fluency isn't a gift that some people are born with.
It's a habit, built one phrase at a time, one conversation at a time, one day at a time.
Clear English opens doors. It changes careers. It changes relationships. It changes how you see yourself.
And perfect grammar doesn't open any of those doors. Confidence does, habit does, practice does.
Easy English with PJ. Simple English for real life. Start tomorrow, or stay exactly where you are.
See you in the next one.
Bye, everyone.
Bye for now.